everyone, I am going to show you how to sew the exposed box bottom pouch. I have called this a paper pouch in a different sew along because I use a piece of paper to cut the fabric to the size that I want. That will give you a pouch that is this size, which is a pretty good size. You can fit a decent amount of stuff in there. It's a good little on-the-go beauty bag type thing that you could put all your like miniature toiletries in if you're going on a trip, if this pandemic ever ends. But if you want something a little bit bigger, you can make this any size you want. So this pouch here, I did 9 inches by 11.5 inches. And this one, which is quite a bit bigger, is 10 by 13. So you can see the difference in the size here. Let me try to get that on the camera a bit better for you. So you can see that that's quite a bit bigger. I'm going to make a smaller one today to nest inside this pouch here. So I'm going to use the paper to cut it, as that's a lot easier. But you can use whatever dimensions you want and it will go the same way. So it's very easy to do. So the first thing we're going to do is grab all of our materials. So let's get started. What you will need for this project is your exterior fabric, your interfacing for your exterior fabric, some fusible fleece or other foam or Decaville light. I like the fleece. I think that it gives it an okay amount of structure without being too stiff, and it still stands up very well on its own. And for the lining, I like waterproof canvas. You can use cotton on your lining or regular canvas on your lining. If you use cotton, you will want to apply interfacing to that piece as well. The reason that I like waterproof canvas is because for me, these function as a toiletries bag. So I wanted to have the waterproof lining because if my conditioner leaks in there or something else, it's good to have the waterproof lining there. But it's entirely up to you how you want to do it. So for my exterior, I have cotton woven fabric. I'm going to be using the same hoop print as I have here. So I'm going to cut 2 pieces of this that are 8.5 by 11, the paper size. That's why I dubbed this the paper pouch. But as I said before, you can use any size you want, and you'll just follow the directions the same. Just keep your size consistent throughout. So I'm going to fold both my pieces at the same time. For this one, just try to line up a little bit there. So just grabbing any sheet of paper if you're going to do it this way, or you can use your ruler to measure. I'm going to use a sheet of paper because that's easy to do. If you have a print that you want to try to line up, you can do that. I'm not going to worry too much on this one. And I'm going to cut these at the same time. So you can use your ruler to measure, or if you want to do it the easy way that I like, just pop your piece of paper on the top there. Put some pattern weights down there. I have my pattern weights from the sew along that I did in the 12 days of sew alongs. That's also here on the channel if you wanted to give those a go. So I'm just going to cut around my fabric. Two pieces. That will be the exterior. You're also going to want to cut from your exterior a 2 by 2 inch by, I'm talking in inches, I'm sorry for people that use metric. I will cut a 2-inch square, and that will be the end tab for our zipper. If you are wanting to do a D-ring and a wrist strap, you will cut that from your exterior fabric as well. I will put all of the measurements on the screen here for you. So there is that piece. So if you're going to do those, you'll need those measurements too. So I'm just going to cut a tab for the end of my zipper and also a piece for a D-ring. So I will just grab my ruler. So I want 2" by 2" piece for my zipper end, and for my D-ring attachment, you're going to want a piece that is 2 times the inner diameter of your D-ring. So I'm using a 3/4 inch D-ring, so I want my piece to be 1.5 inches, and I want it to be 4 inches long. So I'll do 4 inches here. And then, even though I said 2 by 2, this piece will be big enough to use it for the end of my zipper. It just needs to be wider than your zipper. So that'll be big enough. So I'm just going to use that to avoid waste. And I'll press those when I apply my interfacing to make them smoother. So far from the exterior, we have cut 2 pieces, 8.5 by 11, or whatever your chosen measurements are. Regardless of what your chosen measurements are for your pouch size, you're going to want a piece that is approximately 2 by 2 inches, or you can do 1.5 by 2 if you want to. That will be big enough. It just doesn't give you as much on the end in case of fraying. Your D-ring section, you want that to be 2 by 4, and then a wrist strap piece. Again, it's going to be 2 times the inner diameter of your, for the wrist strap, it's going to be 4 times the inner diameter of your lobster clasp. So again, I'm using 3/4 inch, so I'm going to want that to be 3 inches wide, and I like 14 inches of length for mine. So I'm going to cut a piece that is 3 inches by 14 inches, and that is going to be for my wrist strap. Oops. Okay, so I'm just going to cut that out using my ruler for this, since I don't have a piece of paper that is the appropriate size. Okay, so just cutting that. Oops. So, going through that list again to make sure that you've got all of your pieces before you put your exterior fabric aside. You're going to want 2 pieces from your exterior print that are 8.5 by 11, or whatever your chosen measurement is. You're going to want a piece that is approximately 2 by 2 inches. A little bit narrower is fine too, as long as it's wider than your zipper. That's for your zipper end tab. And then optional, if you're going to do a wrist strap with a D-ring, you're going to want the D-ring piece, which is 2 by 4. That's not even right. I want 1.5 by 4. I'm sorry. So I'm trimming that down. So 2 times your inner diameter. 2.5 times 4. I'm sorry about that. And then your wrist strap piece, you want it to be 4 times your inner diameter by about 14 inches. So this is 3 inches wide, because 3 times 3/4 is 3. And that's 3 inches wide by 14 long. Okay, so we will cut the interfacing and the fleece next. Put those pieces aside so you don't accidentally slice them when you're doing the other pieces. So you're going to want interfacing the same size as your exterior fabric. So for me, I used a piece of paper. So use the piece of paper again. It's so easy to cut it if you just use this piece of paper as a template, but you can use whatever size you want. Just make sure that it's consistent. So your interfacing will be the same size as your exterior fabric. You want to use a light to medium weight interfacing for this, so something like SF101 woven fuse, or something that has a similar feel to that. You could use 809 if you wanted to. It's a little bit firmer. That would work as well. So cut 2 of these pieces. And then from the interfacing, I'm also going to cut a piece for the D-ring attachment. So that is going to be 1.5 times 4. And yours will be dependent on what size hardware you're choosing. If you're not doing the D-ring attachment, then you don't need this piece. You don't need interfacing for your zipper end. And then the last piece that I'm going to need to cut is a piece that is 14 by 3, and I have this scrap from a different project, so I will cut that 14 by 3. Oops, I'm sorry, I keep bumping the camera. Okay, so that's your interfacing cut. The next thing that you want to cut is your fleece, so pop that to the side. I take the opportunity now to turn on my iron or heat press. So that it can heat up while I'm cutting the rest of the fabric. Actually, I'm going to cut my waterproof canvas first. So if you are doing a different material for your lining that needs interfacing, you're going to want to cut 2 extra pieces that are the size of your pouch. So 8.5 by 11 if you're doing it the paper size, or whatever size you choose. So this is the 8.5 by 11 finished size, just to give you an idea. So that's what I'm going to do for this piece. So just cut this. Okay, so now I have my 2 interior fabric pieces cut. Pop those to the side as well. And then the last thing to cut is the fleece. The fleece you will cut 1 inch shorter and 1 inch narrower than you cut your exterior fabric, so to keep the fleece out of your seams. So you can cut that by measurements, or you can do what I do. And I just cut a piece of paper size, and then I just trim 1 inch off one end, one end and one of the, either the top or the bottom, off one short side and one long side. So now I have my 2 pieces cut to the full size. I'm just going to trim 1 inch off here, 1 inch off here. What we're also going to do here is, because we're going to be boxing the corners on this pouch, we want to cut them out of the fleece now before we fuse it to our exterior So I like to use a box that is 1.75 inches. You can use 2 inches, you can use 1.5, whatever you like. I find 1.75 gives a nice base here, but 2 inches is a little easier. It's a bit more consistent. It just makes it a fair bit. Let me try to show you there. You can just see the difference there in the base. This patch is slightly bigger, but you can just see the difference there. So I'm going to do 1.75, and this is my 2 pieces stacked on top of each other. So you want to do 2 bottom corners on each piece of fleece. So that is cut out. And then the next thing to do is to apply the interfacing. So you're going to apply interfacing to your exterior pieces first, and then you're going to put your fleece on. And when you do your fleece, you're going to center that onto your exterior. So that will be the next step that we will do. That will be tomorrow's step. So I will be back and we will do the interfacing and the fleece.